Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel, welcome back to another Spooky Sunday video. Today we are doing the second installment of the Walking Dead series that I'm doing on this channel. If you didn't watch last week's video, we ranked all the Walking Dead villains. I would go and watch that if you haven't already. It's a great video. I had so much fun filming it. I love the Walking Dead and I could talk about the Walking Dead for hours and hours and hours and hours. And instead of talking my girlfriend's head off about it, I thought I'd come on here and talk your head off about it. So without further ado, let's get into today's video and let's talk about crazy facts about The Walking Dead. So I have a lot of crazy facts about The Walking Dead and I'm going to share them all with you now, so let me know if you've ever heard of any of these facts, because some of them I had never heard of myself and I was kind of like, whoa. The first fact is that the logo slowly decayed over time. I will insert a picture here if I can find one online, but as the world decayed, so did the logo, and I feel like that is such a cool fact. I love that and I never noticed it, so I feel like that's such a cool little Easter egg. So yeah, the logo decayed. How cool. I don't know if you noticed, but they never say the word zombie, and the reason that they never say the word zombie is because zombies didn't exist in that universe. So you know how we have zombie TV shows, we have zombie comic books. Obviously The Walking Dead was a comic book before it was a TV show. We know that zombies exist, so if a zombie apocalypse happened, we'd kind of be prepared. Like, we know things about zombies. But in the Walking Dead universe, zombies do not exist. They've never seen a zombie movie, they'd never read a zombie comic, they have never watched zombie TV shows, they don't even know it's a thing. So when the zombie apocalypse happens, no one knows what it is, and that's why there's so many different names for the walkers. They never say the word zombie, which I feel like is so interesting, because I always wondered, why aren't they saying zombie? And then I researched it and it was because they don't exist in that universe. So there's a few little facts about helicopters, and the main one is that helicopters were always associated with Rick. People say this is because this is how Rick eventually leaves the show, and so he's always associated with helicopters all the way throughout the show. And then after he leaves the main show, we never see helicopters ever again. So it's kind of like Rick leaves, so do the helicopters. The only problem I have with this theory is that I don't know if Rick was supposed to be written off when he was. I don't think he was. So if he's always been associated with helicopters because that's how he was always going to go, and they've been in the series all the way through, then how would that make sense if he was just randomly written off because he wanted to spend more time, like the actor wanted to spend more time with his family? So unless that was always the way he was going to go and they just made it happen quicker, maybe that could have happened. But yeah, that's the only issue I have with that theory, whether it's true or not. And the last helicopter fact that I have for you guys is that the helicopter that was seen when Rick first meets Glenn is actually a teaser to the governor and not the CRM. And that is because this helicopter is actually seen in the governor's season when it crashes and leads the governor to their base. So I just thought I'd add that in there because there was a helicopter scene in the sea and it feels like it was just never spoken about again, but apparently it's tied to the governor's season. I feel like this is one most people know, but I'm going to put it in here anyway because it wouldn't be a Walking Dead facts video without it. But Daryl Dixon wasn't actually a character in the comic books, and he was created because they loved Norman so much and they decided to base him off Dwight's character in terms of a biker vest and a crossbow. So him and Dwight are very, very similar characters, and then Daryl ended up being a fan favourite. Daryl is my favourite character. So was Glenn, so I was really upset when Glenn died. But yeah, so they created this whole character and then he ended up being an absolute fan favourite. Rick was actually supposed to lose his arm in the governor season. The governor was supposed to cut Rick's arm off. However, the TV show decided against it just because of how expensive it would be to CGI Rick having no arm for all of those seasons, especially when Rick is a main character. I think it maybe would have been different if it was a side character or if it wasn't an entire limb missing, and so they wouldn't have to spend all the money on CGI. But that is why they decided against removing Rick's arm in the TV show. Andrea was supposed to stay in the show longer, and she was also supposed to be Rick's love interest a lot further down the line, in the same way that Michonne is. So T-Dog was actually supposed to live longer and Carol was supposed to die earlier. They decided to switch the characters' timelines, I suppose, and this is allegedly, obviously I wasn't on set so I don't know if this part's true, but it's allegedly because T-Dog kept being late to set. Like, the actor that plays T-Dog kept being late to set, and so they switched the character storylines. But I don't know how much truth is in that. That's just a little fact that I've heard on the internet. Take it with a grain of salt, but allegedly that's why. So Heath was actually kidnapped by the CRM, and we don't know whether he's an A or a B. And by the way, A stands for, I think, somebody who's a leader, and they end up being experimented on, because obviously having a leader in the main site wouldn't really help the CRM's cause. It may cause revolutions, or revolts or whatnot, and so the leaders were the ones that would get experimented on. And a B is somebody who lives and works for the CRM. So we never find out which one Heath is, and apparently that's because they were waiting to see what the actor wanted to do, whether he wanted to come back to the show ever again or not. So we never find out if he's an A or a B. Heath's car was found at the junkyard where Jadis was, and then obviously his glasses were found, which kind of shows that there was a kidnap. So that's the theory on where Heath went, because they never told us. He just disappeared and then they never actually addressed it. So that's the theory. So this one isn't a confirmed fact. This is a speculation that the Whisperers had been hinted throughout the entire season, and Lizzie may have been convinced that zombies were people or good or whatever ideal that she had, because she heard them whispering and talking to each other, and maybe that's why she said that they spoke to her. But if you remember, when Morgan was going through his episodes, I suppose, he said they were wearing dead people faces, so that's another hint that maybe Morgan saw a whisperer. However, this was apparently debunked by somebody that works on the show, and they said that the Whisperers hadn't even been written yet. I don't know, I really believe in this theory. I feel like it makes so much sense why Lizzie thought that they were people, and then Morgan saying they were wearing dead people's faces. Like, what does Morgan mean by that if it wasn't a whisperer? And if you watch my ranking video, you know that I really like the Whisperers as villains, and I think they're a really great villain. So I feel like that huge build up all the way up until they pop off in their season would be so cool to know that there's little Easter eggs throughout the whole series. But if it's been debunked, it's been debunked. But I do feel like it's such a cool theory, and I think if that was real, that would have been amazing. Okay, this one annoys me so much if you are a watcher of Fear the Walking Dead, but the showrunner from The Walking Dead, the main show, got fired because, I'm trying to remember which season it was, but there was a season where he did something and there was so many complaints and people were so angry that he ended up getting taken off the show. And instead of firing him completely, they moved him to Fear the Walking Dead, which was a show that had already had a pre-planned plot where Nick, the main character, was going to be this savior of sorts, and Madison, his mom, was going to turn into a villain. And the first 3 seasons of that show are so good, and they almost feel like a different show, even though they're from the same universe, and you see so many different aspects of The Walking Dead that you didn't in the main show. Like, you saw the beginning of the apocalypse and all that sort of stuff in the outbreak, and then after season 3, when this showrunner from The Walking Dead comes over, it just goes so downhill. Morgan decides to come into the show, which is really weird, and the show goes from being about the Clarks, so Nick and Madison, to being about Morgan and his life, which is strange. And Nick actually asks to be killed off because he was so mad with this decision, and he was the main character, and the show really didn't feel the same afterwards, because you watched Fear the Walking Dead and he was the main person and you got invested in him. It's like watching Rick, and then after season 3, Rick being killed off and everybody's like, what the hell's going on, because you thought you were following Rick. It was the same vibe. So for them to just derail everything, have the main character killed off, was so wild, and it low-key ruined the show. But I still watch it because I do actually like Morgan, and I loved Morgan in The Walking Dead, but I just feel like they went about it the wrong way when they decided to do this whole weird story switch up, and the story is completely different now. Madison doesn't turn into this big scary villain or whatever they had planned. But yeah, that's a little fact about that, is that it's actually supposed to be a completely different show, and the showrunner derailed the whole operation. So that's all the facts that I have for you today on The Walking Dead. I hope you liked today's video. I have more Walking Dead videos coming for you soon, as well as videos about the Vampire Diaries and American Horror Story. And like I said, let me know if you want me to do any videos on Fear the Walking Dead. I can do that as well. Hope you like my new little background, and the audio is a lot better. I have microphones now, which I mentioned in the last video. But yeah, if you like the video, please remember to give it a like and subscribe. I'd love to have you stick around with me. Till next time, I'll see you all soon. Bye.